Hello, you guys. This is Deborah Marie Rodriguez, the real Queen of Notre Dame, and hopefully you guys are doing fine. Welcome to the castle today, and I wanted to invite you into a brand new podcast. I am starting a new podcast titled The Real Queen of Notre Dame podcast, where I'm going to be talking about my life, and I'm going to be sharing various topics with you. Okay, so this is season 1. Okay, we're starting from the beginning. Season 1, who am I? What is this whole thing about? Where have I been? And we are on episode 1. So I want to talk to you guys about a lot because I have not talked to you guys in so long. Okay, if you are podcasters, I have not talked to you guys on my podcast. There was a lot going on with just a lot of hits and different things going on in my life, and I am back. Okay, so I wanted to talk to you guys about a lot. I wanted to talk to you guys about the call. Okay, how do you know when you're called? How do you know when God has called you to something higher? Okay, how do you know when God has called you to be more than you thought you would be? Okay, how do you know you have purpose? All right, very, very important. How I knew I had purpose, I knew that I had a call over my life since I was a very small child. Okay, I knew that I had a call over my life. I knew that the Lord was calling me to something higher, simply because one of the reasons I knew was because of the warfare that was over my life. Okay, that's one of the reasons I knew. Okay, I had a lot of warfare. All right, I was very attracted to things that when it came to things that changed people's lives. Wanting to be a doctor, wanting to go to school to be a doctor, wanting to do all of these different things. I was really, really, really called to these things. Okay, so I knew, 6 years old, being in elementary, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a doctor. Okay, I want to be a medical doctor. I want to help people. I want to change people's lives. Okay, so I always knew that I wanted to help people, and I always knew that I wanted to change people's lives. I always knew that I wanted to be someone who was great. Okay, I used to be in theater. I used to be in singing and musicals and different things as a child. I was always put in different organizations and different programs where they put me in different programs where they had me to where I said speeches and different things. I would say the announcements. Okay, so I was always very confident with who I was, but I was also very insecure. Okay, I was also very insecure. And I yearned for the Holy Spirit. When I say I was insecure, I was not insecure like, I'm not a beautiful person, but I was going through so much in my life to where I walked with my head down. I had my head down, because of a lot of things that I was going through. I grew up in an atmosphere where there was a lot of yelling. There was a lot of things that I did not understand. There was a lot of unfinished business in the house, okay? So I grew up where I didn't even have, there was not the best money. There was not really a lot of things, So I grew up not really having a lot of resources, okay? I grew up not really having a lot of resources. I grew up not really having the biggest support system, okay? Now, at a really young age, I watched my mom walk around, and I watched her go through a lot of things with men, okay? I watched different men over to the house. I watched her go through different things with men. I watched, how they would treat her. But she always showed me a lot of love, She always showed me a lot of love. She always tried to make it seem like we were not going through anything when we were going through a lot, okay? So I started public school. I started public school at 2.5. I turned 3 the same week. I got accepted into a particular school. This was in Houston, Texas. This was a school. It was a primary school. It was called Langsted. I believe it was called a Langsted Primary School. Okay, I wanted to say Langsted Elementary. So I grew up going to public school. I found myself getting up at 5 a.m. in the morning, found myself in school, found myself in classes, was always doing, home study, different things like that as a child, overachieving different things. But there was a lot of things that I was lacking, okay? I did not have a father in the household, I did not have the actual incentives that the little small kids go to. I was in little clubs in the schools, but I did not have things like access to ballet class and different things that would help me, when it came to the different incentives and different things. But I started going to this daycare, okay? This was a Christian daycare. They had vacation Bible study. It was called Educare, okay? I started going to this as an after school, and they started to teach me about the Bible. My mom would teach me about the Bible too, but they started to teach me about the Bible. They started to have vacation Bible studies. They started to take us on field trips and different things like that. So I was around Christians. Okay, I would read. We would read the Book of Revelations. We would do Bible studies. I even go on the cheerleading team. So I was around these different things as a child, and I was able to be around people. I was able to be around believers. Okay, so I realized my identity. Okay, I realized that God was calling me to something particularly. I realized that I found myself at 5 years old talking about end times. I found myself at 5 years old talking about the Bible, talking about how the end times, talking about how Jesus was getting ready to return. And I found myself crying. I found myself breaking down crying simply because I could feel the Holy Spirit. I could feel the Holy Spirit really early. I could feel the presence of God. I knew when God was around me. I knew when I was having a visitation. I knew when the Lord would send people, and I would say the Lord is sending an angel to me. So I was very, very, very aware. Okay, I was very, very aware what the Lord was doing in my life. I was very, very aware who the Lord was sending. Okay, and I knew that I particularly had a calling to change other people's lives. Okay, it was when I found myself in a lot of situations. It was when I found myself going through a lot of a very domestic, household. Okay, very loud. I was going through a lot of, different things, a lot of reprimanding. I even went through a lot of physical abuse. Okay, I went through a lot of things, and I found the Lord being there. Okay, I found the Lord being there in the music. I found the Lord being there when I thought the Lord was not there. When I was done, when I said, Lord, if you do not have anything, I remember being 13 years old. I was going through a lot. And I remember being 17 years old, and I said, Lord, if you do not have anything else for me to do, then just take me. I'm going through too much. This is too much to handle. I don't know if I could do this anymore. I don't know if I could hold on to this mantle anymore. I don't know if I can hold on to this call that you're calling me to. I'm only this age. There's a lot going on. If this is a lot going on, then I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it through this, because I know that you're going to have more for me. And all of a sudden, I saw a really bright light. And the Lord answered me with this bright light. The Lord did not take my life. The Lord did not give me a heart attack. I said, Lord, I'm not going to take my life if you don't have anything else in this world for me to do. I said, Lord, you can take me. And all of a sudden, I see a bright light. All of a sudden, I see the light lift through my whole entire body. And I knew in that particular moment, I knew that God was real. I knew that God was calling me to something higher. I knew that God was calling me to something greater. I knew specifically, I recognized the presence of the Lord.